Hello and welcome back to Sonny Talk Spurs, and today we're talking about the future of Tottenham Hotspur. Also, if you are new around here, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and please leave a comment because I'd love to know your opinions on the topic I'm going to discuss today. Now, let's get into this deep dive. So little old Tottenham Hotspur are technically and traditionally still part of the Big Six. I'm not talking top six, I'm talking Big Six. There's a massive difference between the two. But a lot of people would also say that Newcastle are now part of the Big Six or Big Seven, whatever you want to call it. But if we're talking traditionally, as I say, the Big Six, Tottenham are still there or thereabouts. And also what defines the Big Six is not how they do on the pitch, because many people tell me you're not a Big Six club, you've not won anything. The Big Six is not defined by what you've won and history or anything like that. It's defined by the money and clout you have as a club. You know, your finances, your owner, your backing. And technically Tottenham are still part of that. I know Newcastle fans are going to come at me and say, we're here, da-da-da-da. But all this about leapfrogging, you haven't won a trophy in 60 years or so, and this is the first time you got Champions League in 20 years, so just keep quiet for this one. But Tottenham have obviously heavily invested in their infrastructure. Obviously, a state-of-the-art training facility. I've been there. It's absolutely beautiful. The grass is sublime. The facilities and the gym are impeccable, and the training pitches are just top tier. And obviously, we now have one of the best football stadiums in the world. And we all know it did cost a pretty penny to have both of these fantastic establishments. Billions on a stadium and millions on the training facility, but Pochettino's words still ring true. There's no point having a nice house unless you have furniture in it. Now, obviously, Spurs gets the banter club treatment, especially on the pitch. I, for one, know I get it all the time in my WhatsApp groups, on Twitter, and everywhere else. But, you know, in the last couple of seasons especially, it seems to be happening more off the pitch and just escalating even more. From not spending in a calendar year to going on a wild goose chase for managers and then appointing Nuno Espirito Santo, then bringing in the likes of Antonio Conte and Jose Mourinho, paying them absolutely millions of pounds, and then not giving one of the best finalist managers in the history of the game a chance to win us silverware in a Carabao Cup. Honestly, that blows my mind still. It just proves the fact we are run horrendously. Obviously, a lot of blame does fall at the door of our chairman, Daniel Levy, but we'll get onto him in a little while. But this video mainly was triggered about the news of Joe Lewis. And I believe, after hearing this news, it's now the right time for Joe Lewis / ENIC to sell Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Now, I won't go into too much detail on the Joe Lewis story. I'm not a financial expert, and I had to get a bit of the, you know, a bit of like some knowledge from my dad because he used to be a City trader. But Lewis has been indicted for allegedly orchestrating an insider trading scheme in the US. Obviously, it doesn't sound ideal, does it? But at the moment, this is all allegedly. So, a 29-page document reveals that prosecutors in New York have accused the British billionaire of running a brazen scheme whereby he would tip off lovers, fair play, friends and associates with private stock market information which they used to make millions. Obviously, this is not really ideal for the football club in terms of this is the guy who's... So it gets confusing. Is he our owner? Is he our majority shareholder? No one really knows. He lives in the Bahamas. We hardly see him. It's a very confusing situation. And the club have obviously distanced themselves with a statement that said, you know, it's a legal matter. It's unconnected with the club. So they're very much washing their hands and, you know, keeping the football matters to one side and the Joe Lewis situation to another. And also in another article by The Guardian, it says the 89-year-old Bahamas-based billionaire who faces a 19-count indictment, 16 counts of security fraud, 3 counts of conspiracy, was jailed by a judge in New York on Wednesday after pleading not guilty to charges of giving insider trading tips. Honestly, it is the most Spursy thing you've ever heard, seen, and whatever. You know, I just can't get my head around it. It's absolutely unfathomable. I don't know if anything does shock me anymore as a Tottenham fan. I'm really not sure. And it also says he stepped back from his publicly stated position at Spurs on the 5th of October 2022 in a move that was signed off by the Premier League boards. As such, the Premier League does not feel the need to take action against Spurs in response to the charge that have been brought against Lewis. But, you know, saying about the structure of how we run, in this article as well, it does mention a few lines on it, so I'm going to read them out now. The change to the ownership structure at Spurs was not extensively reported on at the time, but it has certainly come to feel more significant in the wake of the events in the last 24 hours. Spurs are 86.58 owned by ENIC, and the investment company itself is 70.12% owned by the Lewis Family Trust. The Spurs chairman, Daniel Levy, and certain members of his family hold the other 29.88% of ENIC. It's just confusing. It just doesn't make sense. It just really, in the modern ownership models, the percentages don't even make sense. I'm not, as I say, I'm not a financial expert, but how can you own 86.58? I get very confused with this sort of stuff. And it says, as of the 5th of October, Lewis ceased to be part of the trust, even though it retained his name, or to be a beneficiary of it. Like, what is going on here? Like, I'm so confused by it. I just don't get it. I really, really don't get it. And apparently, due to some of these circumstances, this makes very interesting reading. Apparently, the Premier League won't have to take any action if he is found guilty. Again, baffles me. Absolutely baffles me. I don't really get it. I'm screaming for new ownership here, and then this all happens, and it just doesn't make sense whatsoever. And what makes you really laugh is we don't hear from Joe Lewis. Tottenham fans do not hear from Joe Lewis. He's like an evil guy in a lair where you just don't see him at all, and then he pops his head up. He's a bit like Darth Vader. He only pops out when you need to see him. And, you know, twice in 1 week we've heard from him. He's given this ultimatum to Harry Kane and Daniel Levy, and then all these charges appear. It's just mind-boggling. So that's enough about Joe Lewis. We're now going to talk about Daniel Levy, who is obviously Spurs chairman. He obviously has shares in the club, or a percentage ownership, as I said there. But he ultimately, as we all know, runs the club day by day, and he's the name that gets, you know, branded about on social media when we talk about Tottenham. And, you know, people say Levy out, ENIC out, you know. ENIC's like this, like a person in itself. So, yeah, now it's time to talk about Levy. And to one extent, I will defend it because I think he's an unreal business person. You know, he has secured a lot of good deals in the sense of our shirt sponsors, our Nike deal, concerts, the NFL, you know, building the stadium and stuff like that. But he has made a bad reputation for himself in the terms of he's a hard negotiator. No one wants to sell to us. No one really wants to accept our low-balling bids. So it's made it really tough for Tottenham in the European stage to actually negotiate anything. But if there was a solution where we did get new owners and Levy could be part of the business side and not the football, I think that'd be great. You know, when we've actually had people come in who are more football people, like Paul Mitchell and people like that, it has worked well. But some of the appointments like Baldini and Paratici, I mean, it's so poorly run, it's unreal. So this now leads us to what next. And Levy has stated that he would want billions to sell Tottenham, probably around the 3 billion mark, which is a similar price to Chelsea and not far off what the Glazers want for Manchester United. But for a Premier League club, it's probably about right in the current market. You know, we see that, you know, the US and Middle East consortiums and groups, they want to invest in the Premier League and they want Premier League clubs. You know, we've seen with the likes of even like Bournemouth, and I know Leeds now in the Championship, but there are individuals and groups who want to buy football clubs, especially in England. And, you know, with the rise of Saudi Arabia as well, it's like a bit of a face-off between the Premier League and Saudi Arabia on who can have the most football engagement and, you know, be able to dine at the top table. And if we go a few months back, there were two rumours, potential rumours, of takeovers. And, you know, they were a bit like run-of-the-mill stuff. Nothing really happened of it. The first being Jam the Jaffe, an Iranian-American billionaire. But this was shot down really quickly, and that's where Levy named his price, and this basically went to the wayside. Then there was a talk of a minority investment from Qatar in the form of QSI, also known as the people who own PSG, Nasser Al-Khelaifi and the gang. But again, nothing really came off it. But since the Joe Lewis news, it seems to have popped up again. So it says Tottenham takeover news latest. QSI monitoring the situation amid Joe Lewis charges. Daniel Levy and PSG president Nasser Al-Khelaifi reportedly met, and on the agenda was a potential investment from the French club's owner. I don't know what to think of these murmurs, and I'll be honest, I can't really sadly see us being sold anytime soon, especially when it's talk of minority investment. I don't even know what that looks like, and we see how the club is split up in percentages. What would we give them? Like 10, 5%, which is nothing really. As I say, we should really be sold. I've just really had enough. You know, last couple of years I've been umming and ahhing. Am I Levy out? Am I ENIC out? Am I Levy in? Am I ENIC in? And I've come to the conclusion after everything that's happened, you know, we signed James Maddison, but we just can't sign a defender. And we're just not willing to pay the prices for people. The investment is just not there, and I just can't get my head around it. It is so infuriating as a fan. And I've just really come to my wit's end with it. It's just absolutely a joke, and I just don't know what to think about it anymore. I just think after especially this Joe Lewis news and Daniel Levy not getting any better, and what with the Harry Kane situation as well, it just is a massive wind-up. And if Tottenham could be sold in the next couple of seasons, I would be a very happy man. We've seen how the upturn has happened at Newcastle. We're always the bridesmaid, never the bride. And we just need to somehow try and dine at the European tables, try and dine at the top table, and be taken seriously for once. We're just never taken seriously. We're laughed out of rooms. It's just not good. We need to be sold ASAP. And I don't know who to. I don't know if it will ever happen, but I'm all for it now. But let me know in the comments down below, do you want Tottenham to be sold? Are you Levy in, Levy out, ENIC in, ENIC out? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you have enjoyed, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I've been Sonny, and I'll see you on the next Tottenham Hotspur adventure. Bye.